call the meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock. Can we have each board member state their name? And then when everybody is speaking, if you could mute your mics, that'd be great.
So Laurie, Mary Winston here, TDLR. If you want to just hand that over to Anna, she can do that roll call. And so
Okay,
she can do the check off on the list.
that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Meredith Rentz, Dr. Charlotta Guillory. You're muted, ma'am.
Present.
Thank you. Destiny Hooper, Dr. Michael Nix, Roxanne Anderson,
Present.
Erica Steele,
Present.
Therese Fruget, and Melissa Bates,
Present.
and presiding officer Lori Fremgen.
Present.
You have a quorum, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let's move to agenda item C, the approval of minutes from the last meeting. If anybody wants to make a motion for approval.
Erica Steele, I move to approve the minutes.
Great. Do we have a second?
Alita Guillory, I second it.
Great. And then can we do a roll call for those in favor?
Yes, ma'am. And I also want to let y'all know that Dr. Nix has arrived.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
And for the approval of minutes, Dr. Guillory. Oh, you're muted.
Approve.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nix,
Yes.
Roxanne Anderson.
Present.
This is for the approval of minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. Erica Steele,
Approved.
Melissa Bates,
Approved.
and presiding officer Lori Fremgen.
Approve.
Motion passes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's move, well, since there's no public comment, I'm just going to move right through agenda item D. Because Erica is in the middle of her state inspection of her birth center, I was wondering if we could move to agenda item F. And Derek?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Derek Burkhalter. I'm the TDLR Assistant General Counsel assigned to this program. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So these are the proposed rules that we published in the Texas Register on September 17th, which began the 30-day public comment period, and that ended on October 18th. So we received public comments from one individual, but that comment made several points. So I kind of just wanted to walk through the rules and discuss the comments as they come up. Let me try to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see the rule text? Okay, so let's see. So the underlined text is proposed new language, and the strike-through text is, of course, proposed deleted language. Feel free to jump in and stop me at any point during this if you have any thoughts or questions. So these are the same rules that we reviewed during our last meeting where you voted to recommend publication in the Texas Register. And so the department at this point has not recommended any changes to that proposed rule text. So everything that you'll see here, you've already seen before. So beginning with 115.14, the license renewal provisions. I won't read through them. I'll just kind of slowly scan to allow you to review. So in subsection A, we just had a lot of cleanup language. subsection B, we're adding the requirement that 2 of the 20 continuing education hours must cover the topic of assessing fetal heart rates by intermittent auscultation. The public comment did reference this provision. The commenter thought that 1 hour per year, or the 2 hours for the 2-year period, was insufficient time to address this topic because of its complexity. So I'll just kind of open it up to any thoughts about that. And the commenter felt that the NARM bridge certificate has a more well-rounded requirement. So it seems to suggest that we should aim for something closer to that.
I'm personally content with the 2 hours of CEs every 2 years.
Same.
Does anyone feel that we need to increase that time? Okay, hearing none. So subsection C creates an audit system for reporting continuing education hours. Subsection D outlines how that process takes place. So any thoughts or questions about the renewal section? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to 115.115, labor and delivery. And so this, we'll skip down to subsection E. So we're talking about if on initial or subsequent assessment during labor or delivery, one of the following conditions exists, the midwife shall initiate an immediate emergency transfer and document that action in the midwifery record. And then we scroll down and we're making changes to the 6th condition. We're changing it to read abnormal fetal heart rate, which includes but is not limited to bradycardia, tachycardia, abnormal rhythm, or persistent, recurrent, variable, or late decelerations after 30 minutes of intrauterine resuscitated measures. Now, the commenter had a lot to say about this particular section. Ultimately, the commenter recommends just leaving it at the phrase abnormal fetal heart rate pattern and not attempting to list out the various examples. And keeping in mind, this is not an exhaustive list. It just says it includes but is not limited to. So there could be other things that are not on this list, but the commenter thought we should not try to list those out. The commenter felt that the conditions listed included conditions that are occurring in natural or normal labors and do not necessarily indicate an emergency situation. The comment specifically referenced the fact that these conditions did not reference absent variability, and that not having that phrase with each of these conditions is problematic. The commenter felt that regarding bradycardia, that could be something that exists due to transitory fetal stress, including things such as maternal position, fetal response, and cord compression. And a lower baseline could be due to head compression with descent and pushing. Regarding tachycardia, the comment states that this could be a normal condition that's present with maternal anxiety. And with subpart D, the commenter felt that variable and late decelerations can only be classified using electronic fetal monitoring. And, of course, that involves some expensive equipment that's not necessarily mobile. And the comment stated that textbooks indicate that not all variable decelerations are abnormal, and they can be due to occiput posterior presentation, and I had to look that up, and that these variable decelerations are heard in approximately 45 to 75% of all labors. So you all being the experts on the board, I would open up and welcome to any thoughts or responses you have given those comments.
I feel like it's important to list these out, and that if a situation resolves, then you just chart it and indicate that that is so. So I'm not sure um, that any of those comments actually apply. Um, Anybody else have any thoughts about that?
This is Mike Nix. I have a lot of thoughts on those comments. I find concern that somebody would find bradycardia at any stage to be considered normal. Bradycardia is defined by 10 minutes of, this is not, we're not talking about a prolonged deceleration. We're talking about bradycardia. That is not normal at any point during labor. For it to be bradycardic during that period of time, the absence of fetal heart abnormality or conduction abnormalities that can cause bradycardia. So, and I also, specifically, and I completely agree about not listing, variability is an important piece of electronic fetal heart rate monitoring. And I think that we talked about whether we wanted to try to include this or how we had discussed that being able to make a statement on variability does require, or not requires, but is typically associated with electronic fetal heart rate monitoring. And that's not what we were trying to describe here, is not EFM, because the standard of care for midwifery is not continuous electronic fetal monitoring. And so that's the reason we intentionally avoided the descriptor around variability in describing an abnormal fetal heart rate tracing. So I agree with Lori. I had listened to or read the comments and did not feel that there was a need for change on this based on those comments.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts or?
Erica Steele. I did have a thought, and please refresh my memory if we discussed this last time, but I feel like we discussed length of time. I think that is that something that needs to be incorporated here, because it does make me wonder about if it just says abnormal fetal heart rate. Should there be a time reference included in that, or is that an expectation already to, we don't need to add that? Because on D it says after 30 minutes of resuscitative measures. So should there not be that in the other descriptions?
Well, if you look up the medical definitions of those, bradycardia, for example, is a baseline decrease for 10 minutes. Same with tachycardia, it's a baseline increase for 10 minutes. So the length of time is included in the definition. Persistent recurrent variables is greater than 50% of the contractions. So that's included in the definitions, and we're hoping that people know that. Does that help?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I understand that. I think I was just looking at the contrast between, we have a time listed on D. So if that's true and that's in the definition, then why are we listing a time there and not in the other items? That's all. I think, that's it. That was my question.
I would just add that when courts look at specialized terms like these for an industry, they will apply the commonly used definition for that term in the industry. So if it's a particular medical term, then the court will look to the meaning of that medical term. So we don't necessarily have to define every word that we use in these rules if they have an understood meaning in the profession.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mike Nix. Yes, the reason that we added in the 30 minutes on D is because it did not have an implicit time limit as implied by the other definitions, except for abnormal rhythm. But bradycardia and tachycardia are defined by their definitions.
This is Charlita. I have no Guillory. I have no problem with listing these abnormal fetal heart rates at all. And if indeed there's a problem or it recurs or goes back to baseline, then I totally agree with Laurie that they can write that in your notes. But these are triggers for the baby.
Okay, I guess we can keep going, Derek.
Okay. So we've also added down here in 16, uterine tachysystole. We just add that to the end of the list so we didn't have to make as many changes. And then in we've added a new subsection F that if intermittent auscultation is used to determine the fetal heart rate, the intermittent auscultation shall be performed as recommended by the American College of Nurse Midwives. The commenter did not appear to approve of referencing one particular document for this standard, but the comment didn't go into much detail as to why that is.
I'll just address that real quick. There are 3 intermittent auscultation guidelines. They basically all say the same thing from ACOG, A1, and American College of Nurse Midwives. And we just had to pick one. So this is the one we chose. Hopefully, it'd be great if certified professional midwives would eventually come out with the intermittent auscultation guidelines. I'd be happy to put that in here, change that out, but we just had to pick one. And they all say the same, and they've all been consistent for years, so.
Okay, and that is the end of our proposed changes and pretty much the summary of the comment. So with that, now would be the time it would be appropriate to vote to recommend that the commission adopt these proposed rules.
So moved. Do we need to make a motion to move? Nick?
Yeah.
No, that's
Mike Nix, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Roxanne Anderson, second.
Okay. And is it clear to everybody before we move forward that we're sending this rule package now to the commissioners? The commissioners will vote whether to accept or decline it. If it's accepted, it becomes rule for us. That's clear for everybody?
and
Okay.
the effective date, we would take it to the December commission meeting, and the effective date would be January 1st.
Okay.
And the commission cannot make, because this is a standard of practice rule, the commission cannot make its own changes. It either has to adopt the rule as you proposed it here today, or it has to reject it and send it back to you.
Okay. And this rule was created with the help of several commissioners, so hopefully this should just move forward pretty smoothly.
Yes, Dr. Callis and Commissioner Callier were involved in discussions developing this rule language.
Yeah, very helpful. Okay, can we move forward with the vote then, Anna?
Of course.
Thanks.
Dr. Guillory,
Approve.
Dr. Nix,
Approve.
Roxanne Anderson,
Approve.
Erica Steele,
Approve.
Melissa Bates,
Approve.
and Presiding Officer Lori Frungen.
Approve.
It passes, ma'am.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Erica, you're free, so whatever you need to do. All right, let's move on to agenda item E and the staff reports. And oh, wait, before we do that, Erica, if you have anything you want to add to the next agenda item or the next meeting for agenda items, will you just kind of raise your hand if you have to leave?
And Mary Winston, TDLR, Erica, if you don't at the moment, It's okay. Hit
Yeah.
us up at advisory.boards and we will incorporate your concerns there. I know you have something else on your mind, so we appreciate you taking out time to, and everyone for making the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
And before I leave you, I just want to point out that after this rule takes effect, we're going to have another set of proposed rules that we're going to post on our website first as an informal sort of public comment. We're looking to do that sometime in January, and we'll have a 30-day just informal comment period. And then we'll take that feedback and develop our formally proposed rules, and then we'll have another meeting probably in February, sometime in February, probably to discuss that second set of proposed rules.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, Leonard, do you want to tell us what's happening in licensing?
Sure. Good afternoon, advisory board members. Leonard Rivas with the licensing division. My report is brief because we're not in our peak time right now. So you have the report in front of you with fiscal years 2020, 2021, and at the end of September of 2022, we issued one new license, renewed 2 renewals, and the current population at the end of September was 329. That concludes my report. We don't have much going on in this program right now until probably January, February. So unless you have any questions, that concludes my report.
Great, thanks, Leonard.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jacqueline Rush for customer service.
Hi, good morning, board members. I've got some brief personnel updates for you, and the statistics are also shared on that document. The personnel updates include, we have a new director of customer service, Tuan Nguyen, who has replaced our previous longtime director, Tracy Ills. Tuan has been with TDLR for almost 7 years. He previously was a manager in the customer service division. He's got a strong analytical background, and we're excited to see where he'll take the division in the future. As of October 1st, just a few weeks ago, we welcomed 7 new customer service representatives and 1 new quality analyst. The quality analyst team is the team that assists us in collecting the data for these reports, such as the statistics report that follows. So you'll see the numbers of calls and emails that we've received broken down by month for fiscal years 2021 and 2022. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, next item, enforcement. Karen Cox.
Good afternoon. Again, this is Karen Cox, Senior Prosecutor in Enforcement. And I have a short update. Can you scroll up a little more? There, thank you. We have some personnel updates, both promotions. Kim Ferrero Mitchell was promoted to Management Analyst. She had worked for TDLR for 13.5 years, previously as a Legal Assistant 3 and 2, most recently as Legal Assistant working on the small and high profile prosecution team. On September 15th, 2021, same day, Estela Ramos was promoted to Senior Legal Assistant in the intake section. She's worked for TDLR for over 6 years, previously serving as an intake admin assistant and Legal Assistant 1. Going to some statistics, which are only for the month of September 2021, because it is this fiscal year. In the midwife program, we opened no cases, we closed 2. We had an average time of closing of 268 days, which reflects the fact that there were only 2 cases. Half the cases were resolved in 6 months, and half of them resulted in disciplinary action, and there were 16 cases left pending at the end of September. Can you scroll a little bit, please, to the next page? The source of cases for September were, since we didn't have any midwife cases, all for the other programs the agency regulates. 54% were consumer complaints, 17% departmental, that's inspections, and 29% criminal histories. Our case outcomes were, again, we had one agreed order, which imposed no penalty. It was a voluntary revocation, and it did result in disciplinary action. And we had one case informally resolved. The cases at opening for September of fiscal year 2022 there were no midwife cases open last month, and the ones resulting in disciplinary action through September of 2021, which is all of the fiscal year that we've got, fiscal year 2022 that we have, were incomplete records. So going down, and these are, the next set will be some statistics that we heard for the complete statistics for fiscal year 2021. And can we scroll a little bit, because I like to be able to see read from the screen. For the for fiscal year 2021, which is, we have the complete one now, we opened 22 cases. In midwives, we closed 17. The average time to closure was 236.25 days. 23.53 cases were closed within 6 months. 17.65 were closed with disciplinary action, and 18 were left pending at the end of the year. A brief review: closed with disciplinary action means the case was closed by a final order, either default, agreed, or commission order. Default or agreed orders are, of course, signed by Brian or our delegated executive directors. So we had several cases closed that way. The source of cases open for fiscal year 2021 in the midwife program were 82% consumer cases, 14% criminal history background checks for license applications, and 4% departmental complaints. In fiscal year 2021, we had one commission order, we had one default order, and one agreed order in this program, assessing penalties of $16,500 and collecting $3,000 of those penalties. One license was revoked, and 14 cases were informally resolved. Our violations at opening for fiscal year 2021 were, the number one was no incomplete or wrong protocols, lack of professional character is second, failing to follow instrument or emergency protocols, failing to provide information to the client, 2 cases in criminal histories, and 1 each of unlicensed activity, incomplete records, failing to comply with an order, and failing to maintain a standing prescription order. The cases that resulted in disciplinary action for fiscal year 21, these are the violations. There was 1 transfer violation, 1 incomplete or wrong protocols, and 1 expired license. And the 1 case highlight that we have so far for fiscal year 2022 is Respondent Maternidad de la Luz was a midwife school in El Paso that lost its accreditation, and as a result voluntarily had their license revoked. There was no monetary penalty involved. May I answer any questions?
Karen, Lori Fremgen. Can you tell us any more about Maternidad La Luz? I'm just curious.
They were a midwifery school, and they lost their certification through one of the certifying entities, and as a result, they are no longer eligible to provide midwifery education. And then their students all transferred, and their license was voluntarily revoked.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Mike, next. So it looks like there's a significant decrease in the number of cases reviewed, or I know that we're not done with the fiscal year yet, but it looks like we're going to be on par to have a much lower number of cases. Is that what I interpret from that?
It's hard to say, Dr. Nix. The problem is that we really, the fiscal year so far is only 1 month.
Okay, never mind.
No, that was only information from September.
Okay, okay, never mind.
Okay.
Any other
Thanks,
questions?
Karen.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? All right, thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Rebecca Armas to talk about education and examination.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Advisory Board members. My name is Rebecca Armas, and I'm with the Education and Examination Division. Just have a few highlights here for you. You'll see our jurisprudence count, and again, the fiscal year is fairly young. It's only a month old, so you'll see the numbers aren't very big, as well as the curriculum totals with what we have in-house now. And on our final page on our updates, kind of wanted to jump around a little bit. We're providing a transition to a more streamlined version of getting in contact with the division. So we've got some links there that we will provide for everyone to just be able to send an email on a web form to the division, and then someone will be getting back to them. It's a little way, an easier way for us to track as well what kind of emails come into our division. And finally, I just wanted to touch on the Midwives Educational Summit that will be held on Friday, the 10th of December. It's tentatively scheduled from 9 a.m. to 4:45. The link is now on the midwifery page. If you go onto that page, it'll be on your far right-hand side of the page under Midwives Summit. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions anyone has.
No, no questions. All right, thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting that link up and working. People are excited. Okay, next is Katie Bryce with the Regulatory Program Management.
Thank you. I'm Katie Bryce with Medical and Health Professions section of Regulatory Program Management. We have been assisting our Assistant General Counsel for this program with responses to public comments received on the current proposed rules. We've also been working with our Versa developers, which is the online licensing system, to determine the ability to send license notifications upon approval of licenses. We've also, it's not on here, but have been working with our Education and Examination Division on the Midwives Educational Summit, which Rebecca just talked about. Under outreach, we were able to attend the Association of Texas Midwives Conference this past Friday and Saturday. And that was a great time to learn more and to see people in person that we haven't gotten to see in a while. So we enjoyed being there. And that concludes my report.
Katie, it's Lori Fremgen. We really appreciate that you and Mary came to the conference. It really means a lot that TDLR shows up and cares about midwifery. Thank you.
It was our pleasure. We enjoyed being there. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? All right, let's move on. Field inspections. Ron Garrick? Is that correct?
However you want to pronounce it, it's great for telemarketers. Everything is good.
You tell me.
It's actually Ron Gerke, ma'am.
Turkey. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a happy Monday to each of you. My name again is Ron Gerke, and I'm with the field inspections. A very brief report and short. We have a couple of personnel changes. James Turner has left field inspections. We wish him the best in his new endeavors. And Delinda Jew is now the liaison, mainly for the central region and around Austin. So we welcome her to her new position. If you look down for fiscal year 2021 and into the first quarter of this year, we're reflecting a constant of zeros. We were shut down from March until approximately the end of April due to COVID, and we have not done any midwifery inspections. And we are seeking a new person to replace James, and that is in the works. If no one has any questions, this concludes my briefing. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, next, Mary Winston.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm gonna just keep on with this trend of being brief. Since we met in August, the first agenda item for this report says legislative session and bill implementation update. So we gave a little bit of an update on the session last meeting, and nothing has occurred in the last couple of months related to that. But we are in the process of bill implementation. The good news is that as we work forward, there's nothing directly that involves midwives having to change anything that they're doing currently. You guys currently are doing all the work and sending your work to the commission, and we're just going along as we normally do. Bill implementation, things that really deal with this program would be advisory boards, how we conduct meetings, just like we're conducting them now. We now have official approval to do this remotely. Something else, continuing education. Again, your continuing education activities won't change, but the chapter with which the department deals with it does change. So we have some internal things that we're doing, but midwives did not have a great impact, or there wasn't a great impact on midwives in the last session, which I think is a good thing. Just keep delivering those babies. And as I said, we are in the middle of bill implementation. We've developed what we call bit teams, and we are looking at all of the actions and activities that took on the session and how to implement those changes. So if there are any questions there, we do have on our website, we still have new laws that are there. And if you click there, you can scroll down and see what new laws impact your industry and any other industry that TDLR regulates. I'm going to look to my DEDs. We call them affectionately DEDs here. Deputy Executive Directors. All three of them are here. I feel honored. Everyone, you should feel honored. I don't know when the last time was that we had all three deputies in an advisory board meeting, but if we have David Gonzalez, Ms. Christina Kaiser, and Mike Harris Mendez, if you all want to give any more update, that would be great. If not, I will move on to the outreach statistics, but I wanted to provide you all an opportunity to say something. I got a thumbs up from David.
I don't have anything to add, Mary. Thank you.
As I say, I see a smile from Christina. Mike, did you want to impart some of your wisdom?
Can't impart any more than you've already given.
Well, I wanted to at least acknowledge them, everyone. Anna, if you could put up communication outreach statistics. Again, our informal measure of if you all are reaching out to us and what are you looking for? So we're averaging about 54 views per day. This 50% of those visitors are looking for administrative rules. I'm sorry, they're using their computers. 45% are using a smartphone, and that tablet is a consistent 1 to 2%, but we do have connectivity for everyone. So this is really something good for our IT and social media folks to take note of who's using what to reach us. The top reasons for visiting: administrative rules, laws, FAQs, forms, and I love this. Number 5 is the Midwives Educational Summit. I don't think we have that in the top 5 for any training, but this one. So we really look forward to it. Katie and her team and Heather and Mary, I know I'm forgetting someone, so please forgive me, have been working a lot along with with Michael and Kevin to make sure we have connectivity and to kind of get this thing off without a hitch. There's always a glitch, but we're trying to anticipate, oh, anything that we can that would come up, but we're looking forward to it as well. If you, oh, Kayla, forgive me, almost forgot your name to add here. I don't want to do that because everyone has been working so hard. It's like a steady thing, and we love doing it. We look forward to it. And that is the report for exec.
Mary, may I add something onto that? This is Katie
Yes,
Bryce.
yes.
I just wanted to mention that this time at the Midwives Educational Summit, we're trying something new. So we're doing the presentations for the main body of the summit from 9 to approximately 4:15. And then at the end of the summit, we're going to do a 30-minute breakout session where the people who register to attend can break out into smaller groups to give everyone a chance to kind of talk about the summit, talk about just how they've been doing for the past year, just to allow for some interaction between the attendees. I know that that's a really important part for people who used to come to our summits in person. You know, this sense of being able to build some community and just checking in with each other. So we're trying to offer that. And again, this is the first time we've done it, so we're going to hope for no glitches, but we've been testing it internally and just wanted to say that it's something we're excited to offer with this next summit. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. This has truly been a labor of love and just steadily. I love the way Katie's team, Kayla, Heather, Mary, kind of systemically get our speakers and get input. And Mr. Mike Fickle has been most patient with trying the limits of WebEx, I think we're doing. But thanks, Katie. That's going to be something we want to reach out, even though we can't reach out and touch physically right now. We're adding something to give a more personal dynamic to the conference, and that's all Katie's team.
Yeah, that's great. Lori Fremgen, that's great. Thank you so much for that. And I know the midwives really appreciate the opportunity for, you know, free education. They like to emphasize free, but really it's good education. So thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, agenda item G, any recommendations for the next board meeting? Anybody have anything? Like Mary said, if you can't think of it now, you can say the email again.
So this is Derek Burkhalter again. As I said before, we will have the new proposed rules ready for your review at the next meeting.
Great. Okay. Let's move to agenda item H, and that's a discussion of date, time, and location of the next board meeting, which I assume is February?
It will depend. This is Derek Burkhalter again. It'll just depend on how things play out. If we get a lot of public comments after we post the proposed rules to our website, we may have to make some changes and do some more fiscal analysis. So just depending on how things turn out, it may be late February, early March, somewhere around in that time period. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see.
Okay, great. Anyone else? No. Y'all, I think this might be the shortest meeting we've ever had.
And we got a lot done. We did.
Yeah, yeah.
That's some difficult work that we got. I mean, even Mary Winston TLR, even to get through pronouncing bradycardia and everything else that Derek had to say,
I know.
we worked hard. So
I know
thank you,
Derek is a
everyone.
midwife. He's a midwife in training, so you just let me know when you're ready, Derek.
Not even close. Not even close.
All right, with that, it's 1:45. We'll adjourn the meeting now. Thanks, everybody.